A wealthy man discovers the cleaning woman's child playing with his disabled daughter. His reaction afterward left everyone stunned. Remove that child from here immediately. David Morrison's booming voice reverberated across the estate's garden like a storm, making young Luna stop mid-dance in terror. The child, only 9 years old and daughter of Carmen the housekeeper, had been discovered playing alongside Sophie, the wealthy man's 7-year-old wheelchair-bound daughter who had been paralyzed for 2 years. What began as a pure moment of childhood friendship transformed into a scene of complete shame. "Sir Morrison, please forgive me." She simply. Carmen rushed from the kitchen area, her hands dripping from dishwater, her cheeks flushed with humiliation. "I refuse to hear excuses. Your job is housekeeping, not allowing your child to bother Sophie." David gestured toward Luna with contempt. "That child lacks proper breeding to associate with children of our caliber." Luna remained motionless, her large dark eyes welling with tears. Though only 9, she comprehended exactly what his words implied. Meanwhile, Sophie extended her small hands toward her playmate, objecting from her wheelchair. "Papa, please don't. Luna is my companion. She brings me joy." "Enough, Sophie. Return to your bedroom immediately." David addressed Carmen directly. "Either discipline your daughter properly or seek employment elsewhere." Carmen bowed her head, grasped Luna's hand, and moved toward the servants' entrance. However, something in the child's expression captured her notice. It wasn't defeat. Instead, it was an unusual resolve for such a young person, as though she was memorizing each word and every humiliating action. While departing with her mother's guidance, Luna glanced back once more. Sophie kept reaching out to her, weeping, as David wheeled her inside with annoyance. "Why does he treat her so cruelly, Mama?" Luna inquired once they reached the kitchen. "Some individuals believe from birth that they are superior to everyone else, darling," Carmen responded, drying her tears. "However, someday you'll realize that people with kind souls always discover ways to triumph." Nobody in that estate could have predicted that Luna would retain every moment of that incident, and that 2 decades afterward, when fate brought them together again, she would no longer be the terrified little girl who danced in the courtyard. For those enjoying this tale of perseverance and wanting to know what occurs when Luna encounters the Morrison family again, please subscribe to our channel, because her method of transforming that shame into her greatest achievement will astound you. 2 decades have elapsed since that afternoon in the Morrison estate's garden. Yet Luna has never lost the sharp memory of that degradation. At 29, she moves through the halls of the renowned Children's Hope Hospital in her white physician's coat as a pediatric neurosurgeon, among the youngest and most esteemed specialists nationwide. Her mother Carmen had passed away 5 years prior, succumbing to cancer that might have been curable with proper medical coverage. During Carmen's final months, while Luna completed her medical training, Carmen shared heartbreaking truths about their years serving the Morrisons. "My child, that gentleman paid us less than minimum wage," Carmen whispered from her public hospital bed. "I endured it because we were desperate, but he consistently made us feel worthless." Sophie was a lovely child, but David Morrison found pleasure in our degradation. Luna learned that David had terminated her mother merely 1 week following that garden incident, using incompetence as justification to avoid paying proper severance. Carmen never secured another permanent position afterward. Having the Morrison name on her employment history became a burden that haunted her for years. "He ruined our existence for his amusement," Luna whispered while examining that morning's patient files. Her focus on childhood paralysis wasn't accidental. Each child she helped walk represented a small triumph against that heartless man's memory. However, destiny possesses an unusual sense of irony. The final file in her stack made Luna pause completely. Sophie Morrison, age 27, progressive partial paralysis, requiring immediate experimental surgery. Father, David Morrison, entrepreneur. Emergency contact, same phone number. Luna chuckled quietly, a bitter sound that filled the empty office. After 20 years, fate was delivering David Morrison directly into her hands. Sophie, now grown, had contracted a degenerative neurological disease threatening complete paralysis. Luna happened to be literally the sole surgeon in the nation specializing in that specific operation. She lifted the telephone and called the number. After 3 rings, a recognizable though aged voice responded. "Morrison speaking." "Mr. Morrison, this is Dr. Luna Rodriguez, neurosurgeon at Children's Hope. I must discuss Sophie Morrison's situation with you." A lengthy silence followed. Luna could practically hear the mental gears turning. "Rodriguez, that surname seems familiar." "I'm certain it does," Luna answered, keeping her voice professionally neutral. Carmen Rodriguez was my mother. She was employed at your residence some time ago. The quiet that ensued was overwhelming. When David finally responded, his tone was strained. You're that housekeeper's daughter. I am Carmen Rodriguez's daughter, yes. And currently, I'm the only person capable of saving your daughter. Luna heard David's labored breathing. 20 years of entitlement and arrogance were being confronted by the reality that the girl he had degraded now represented Sophie's sole hope. Doctor, I need you to comprehend that. Oh, I comprehend completely, Mr. Morrison, Luna cut him off, relishing each word. I understand that you require my assistance now. The distinction is that this time, I establish the conditions. At that instant, while David Morrison wrestled between his damaged pride and paternal desperation, Luna realized that the small girl who once danced in the garden had matured into exactly what that cruel man feared most, someone with genuine authority over his fate. 3 days afterward, David Morrison entered Children's Hope Hospital as though he controlled it. His expensive suit and designer shoes clicked through the corridors with the confidence of someone used to purchasing solutions to every problem. At 62, with immaculately styled silver hair and regal bearing, he projected the assurance that only decades of privilege can create. I demand to see the medical director, he declared to the receptionist, completely disregarding the line of families who had waited for hours. David Morrison from Morrison Enterprises. Regarding my daughter. The receptionist, a middle-aged African-American woman named Rosa, regarded him with the professional tolerance of someone who had encountered many such men. Sir, Dr. Williams is performing surgery, but Dr. Rodriguez, who oversees your daughter's case, can meet with you in 15 minutes. I didn't come here to speak with subordinates, David responded dismissively. I want whoever truly runs this place. Rosa shared a knowing look with a nearby nurse. They were accustomed to such behavior, but they also knew Dr. Rodriguez's reputation intimately. Mr. Morrison, I assure you that Dr. Rodriguez is among the nation's most respected surgeons. She has preserved hundreds of children's lives. Listen here, David leaned across the counter, adopting a menacing whisper. I could purchase this entire hospital if desired. I won't entrust my daughter's life to someone who, well, you comprehend. Rosa understood completely. 4 decades of hospital work had taught her to recognize every form of prejudice disguised as legitimate concern. She discreetly pressed a concealed button, signaling Luna, who observed everything through security monitors in her office. Luna smiled genuinely for the first time in days. David Morrison remained unchanged, still the same arrogant individual who believed he could humiliate people then buy his way out of consequences. She dialed a memorized number. Dr. James Carter, this is Luna Rodriguez. I need that favor you owe me. Carter, among San Francisco's most formidable attorneys and medical malpractice specialist, had been her college friend. Luna had saved his daughter from permanent paralysis 2 years earlier, refusing any compensation. For you, Luna, anything. What do you require? I want you to investigate David Morrison of Morrison Enterprises. Everything, taxes, employment practices, questionable contracts, especially his treatment of domestic staff over 3 decades. Morrison, that name sounds familiar. Isn't he the one with Department of Labor issues several years back? Luna's heart accelerated. Tell me more. Multiple domestic worker exploitation complaints, below minimum wages, wrongful terminations, unsafe conditions. All silenced with money, but the lawsuits exist. I can provide detailed reports within 48 hours. Meanwhile, downstairs, David grew impatient. Sophie had arrived by ambulance the previous night, her condition rapidly declining. Medical staff were clear. Without the experimental surgery, she had perhaps 6 months before complete paralysis. Father, please, Sophie pleaded from her private room bed that David had demanded. Dr. Rodriguez has an incredible reputation. I researched her online. She's literally the only person nationally who performs this surgery. Daughter, you don't understand. That woman has history with me. I cannot trust her. What kind of history? Sophie frowned. At 27, with a Columbia journalism degree, she had inherited her father's intelligence without his arrogance. Father, how do you know her? David looked away. It's complicated, old business. But Sophie wasn't easily deceived. She grabbed her laptop and began researching. Within 20 minutes, she discovered articles about Dr. Luna Rodriguez's inspiring journey. Housekeeper's daughter, first in her family to attend college, Harvard-trained pediatric neurologist responsible for revolutionary surgical techniques. Father, Sophie said slowly, Rodriguez is quite common. But do you recall a cleaning lady named Carmen Rodriguez who worked for us years ago? David's silence spoke volumes. Sophie continued typing, then her eyes widened. My God, it's her, isn't it? Carmen's daughter. Sophie, this isn't. Do you remember her daughter Luna? The girl who made me laugh when I was wheelchair-bound. David felt his blood drain. 20 years had passed, but he remembered that garden day perfectly, the 9-year-old girl he had publicly humiliated, screaming at her as though she was subhuman. Father, what did you do? Sophie's voice carried growing horrible realization. At that moment, Luna appeared in the doorway. In her white coat with stethoscope around her neck, she embodied professional success. Her eyes met David's with the same composure she'd shown at age 9. But now, behind that calm, he glimpsed something that made him swallow hard. Good afternoon, Mr. Morrison, Luna said in perfectly professional tones. Sophie, how are you feeling? Sophie looked between her father and Luna, slowly grasping the dynamic unfolding before her. Dr. Rodriguez, I want to apologize for anything. There's nothing requiring apology, Sophie, Luna interrupted gently. You've always been a wonderful child. You still are. David observed this exchange, realizing he was completely losing situation control. The girl he had humiliated now commanded the hospital where his daughter needed treatment. Worse still, Sophie clearly remembered Luna fondly. Then Luna addressed David. Shall we discuss your treatment options? David suppressed his anger and attempted to regain authority. I want a second opinion. Another physician. Certainly, Luna replied calmly. The next qualified specialist is in Boston. Dr. Mitchell can see her in 3 weeks, possibly 4. Sophie groaned. Dr. Rodriguez, 3 weeks could be too late, correct? Luna nodded. Unfortunately, yes. This condition advances rapidly. At that moment, David realized he was trapped. Luna didn't need to pressure anything. She simply had to wait for medical reality to work for her. For the first time in decades, David Morrison understood what it meant to be completely at someone's mercy, someone he had underestimated. Luna left some forms on the bedside table. Consider it. I have other surgeries today, but I'll be available tomorrow to discuss the procedure if you decide to proceed. As she turned to leave, her eyes met David's one final time. In that gaze, he saw decades of quiet determination, years of relentless study, and something deeper, the calculating patience of someone who had waited 20 years for the perfect moment. Oh, Mr. Morrison, Luna paused at the door. You might find it interesting that I've extensively documented my professional journey over the years, including the humble beginnings that brought me here. It's remarkable how certain childhood experiences can shape one's character permanently. After her departure, David remained alone with Sophie and the crushing weight of irony. The girl he had deemed unworthy of his daughter's presence was now the only person worldwide who could save her. The following morning, Luna arrived at the hospital carrying a brown leather briefcase and wearing a smile David couldn't interpret. Sophie had endured a difficult night with muscle spasms indicating rapid condition progression. Time was rapidly running out. Good morning, Mr. Morrison, Luna greeted him cordially, placing the briefcase on the bedside table. I brought some documents for us to review before surgery. David frowned. What kind of documents? Oh, simply some interesting discoveries about your company. My attorney, Dr. Carter, is quite thorough in his research. Luna opened the folder with deliberately slow movements. For instance, we found that between 2005 and 2015, your company faced 47 Department of Labor complaints for domestic worker exploitation. David's blood ran cold. Sophie, despite her weakened state, sat up straighter in bed. Father, what is she discussing? Luna extracted a document from the folder. Wages below legal minimum, wrongful dismissals to avoid paying benefits, unsafe working conditions. 47 families affected. She paused dramatically. Including mine. That has no connection to medical treatment, David stammered, but his voice revealed growing desperation. Oh, but it has everything to do with it, Mr. Morrison. Luna turned a page. Because among those 47 families, 23 had children unable to finish high school due to financial hardships caused by his exploitative practices. 15 families lost their homes. 8 children developed health problems from lack of adequate healthcare access. Sophie had tears in her eyes. Father, is this accurate? David couldn't respond. Luna continued, producing another document. But most fascinating, Mr. Morrison, is this email your personal assistant sent to Human Resources in 2006. Luna read aloud. David Morrison requests that any domestic employee submitting references from the Morrison family be automatically disqualified for positions at partner companies. Justification: corporate confidentiality concerns. David's breathing became labored. This constituted an informal blacklist, ensuring anyone he fired would never secure decent employment again. 4 to 7 families, Mr. Morrison. 4 to 7 lives systematically destroyed. Luna closed the document. My mother never obtained another steady job after you fired her. She died at 58 working as contract cleaning staff with no security because her name was on that blacklist. Sophie wept quietly. Father, how could you? You don't understand, daughter. Business is, David tried justifying himself, but Luna interrupted. Business. Luna laughed, but no humor existed in her voice. Mr. Morrison, I spent 20 years preparing for this moment. 20 years studying, specializing, becoming irreplaceable in the only medical field capable of saving your daughter. You want to discuss business? David realized with growing horror that he had been completely outmaneuvered. The 9-year-old girl he had humiliated had not only survived, she had become strategically superior to him. Dr. Carter also discovered something interesting about your finances, Luna continued, producing a red folder. It appears the Internal Revenue Service is very interested in certain discrepancies in your tax returns between 2010 and 2020, especially unreported domestic staff expenses. You're blackmailing me, David managed to whisper. Blackmail would involve using this to obtain something I desire, Luna replied calmly. But I already possess everything I want, Mr. Morrison. I have a brilliant career, international recognition, and the ability to save lives, including Sophie's. Sophie looked between her father and Luna, beginning to understand the complex dynamic unfolding before her. So what do you want? David asked, defeated. Justice, Luna replied simply. I want you to experience briefly what it means to depend completely on the kindness of someone who has every reason to refuse you help. Luna turned to Sophie. Sweetheart, your surgery is scheduled for tomorrow at 7 a.m. Dr. Williams will be my chief assistant, and we have an 85% chance of complete success. Sophie's eyes widened. You're going to operate on me despite everything my father did. Sophie, you aren't responsible for your father's sins, Luna said gently. And I didn't become a doctor to deny treatment to those needing it. I became a doctor to heal regardless of who my patient's parents are. David was visibly shaken. Why? Why are you doing this? Luna looked him directly in the eye. Because, Mr. Morrison, the difference between us is simple. You use your power to destroy people. I use mine to heal them. And when Sophie walks out of surgery, she will understand that true strength doesn't come from humiliating others, but from overcoming them. She closed the folder and headed for the door. Oh, Mr. Morrison, one final thing. Dr. Carter will be submitting complete documentation of your labor practices to the Department of Labor on Monday and to the Internal Revenue Service on Tuesday. Considering the statute of limitations hasn't expired on several violations. David felt his legs tremble. Decades of systematic exploitation were about to collapse on him. But don't worry, Luna smiled for the first time, a genuine smile as she looked at Sophie. Your daughter will be walking long before your court hearings begin. She'll need functioning legs to visit you in prison. At that moment, as David Morrison finally understood that the 9-year-old girl had grown into his conscience's worst nightmare, one question remained unanswered. Was it possible that a man who had spent decades destroying lives could learn about redemption by witnessing his own daughter saved by the compassion of someone who had every reason to hate him? 6 months after the surgery that saved Sophie Morrison, Luna walked through hospital corridors with different energy. The operation had been completely successful. Sophie had not only regained full leg movement but had become one of the most motivated patients Luna had ever treated. The young woman had used her experience to become a passionate advocate for workers' rights, writing articles exposing the exploitative practices her own father had perpetuated. Dr. Rodriguez, Dr. Williams called, approaching with a gold envelope. Official confirmation has arrived. The Physician of the Year award is yours. It's the first time anyone under 30 has received this honor. Luna smiled, remembering the 9-year-old girl once deemed unworthy of being in the presence of children from higher social standings. The irony was delightful. The same determination David Morrison had tried to crush was now propelling her to her profession's peak. And there's more, Dr. Williams continued. The documentary about your life, from cleaning to surgery, has been nominated for an Emmy for Best Social Rights Documentary. Sophie Morrison is one of the executive producers. At that very moment, across town, David Morrison was signing his personal bankruptcy's final papers. Dr. Carter's investigations had revealed decades of tax evasion and labor exploitation. IRS fines alone had consumed 70% of his net worth. Labor lawsuits filed by the 47 families he had wronged drained the remainder. "Mr. Morrison," said his former attorney, putting away documents, "I regret informing you that I can no longer represent you in criminal proceedings. Your remaining assets don't cover our fees." David gazed out the small apartment window where he now lived. The view no longer showed the mansion with gardens where he had once humiliated a girl for dancing with his daughter. Instead, it showed dirty bricks and overflowing garbage bins. At 63, he faced real imprisonment possibilities for labor crimes committed over decades. Sophie had completely severed ties with him, legally adopting her mother's surname and cutting all financial connections. "Father," she had said in their final conversation, "I need to build a life based on values you never taught me. Luna showed me that true strength doesn't come from destroying others, but from elevating them." Meanwhile, Luna was being interviewed live on national television about her journey. "Dr. Rodriguez," asked the host, "how does it feel knowing your story has inspired thousands of young people from underserved communities to pursue medicine?" "I believe every injustice we face can become fuel for our determination," Luna replied calmly. "When David Morrison humiliated me at age 9, he believed he was putting me in my place. Actually, he was motivating me to find a place far greater than he could ever imagine." The camera captured her serene smile. "Today, I operate one of the nation's most important medical scholarship programs, specifically for domestic workers' children. We have already graduated 50 doctors who, like me, came from families suffering labor exploitation." The following week, newspaper headlines told parallel stories. Former millionaire sentenced to 8 years for labor exploitation, occupied the crime section while Brazilian doctor receives International Human Rights Award, dominated the front page. Sophie, now with fully recovered legs, ran every morning through the same garden where her friend Luna had been humiliated 20 years earlier. The mansion now belonged to a foundation Sophie had created to house vulnerable domestic worker families. The irony was poetically perfect. The place once symbolizing exclusion and privilege now represented inclusion and social justice. Luna always says the best revenge isn't becoming like your oppressor, but surpassing him so completely that his very existence becomes proof he was wrong, Sophie explained during a Harvard lecture on social transformation. "My father tried to break a 9-year-old girl's spirit. Instead, he forged one of her generation's most important surgeons." On the last day before David was taken to prison, he received an unexpected letter from Luna. The message was simple but devastatingly powerful. "Mr. Morrison, when I was 9 years old, you said I lacked the breeding to associate with children of our social standing. Today, I head the neurosurgery department at the hospital where your daughter was saved. I chair a foundation that has transformed thousands of families like mine, and I'm considered one of the nation's most influential doctors. You were correct about one thing, I really didn't belong in your social position. My place has always been far above yours. Thank you for showing me, even if unintentionally, that true education doesn't come from birth circumstances, but from the determination to transform every no into fuel for an even bigger yes. With professional respect, Dr. Luna Rodriguez." David folded the letter slowly, finally understanding his defeat's full extent. He had tried to crush a seed but had only planted a tree whose fruits would nourish entire generations. 5 years later, Luna opened the Carmen Rodriguez Institute of Social Medicine, named honoring her mother. Sophie cut the inaugural ribbon, walking with steady, confident steps. In her opening speech, Luna looked out at an audience filled with young doctors, students from humble families, and social activists. "My mother used to say some people are born thinking they are better than others," Luna said into the microphone. "But she also taught me that those with good hearts always find ways to shine. Today at this institute, we continue proving she was right. True greatness isn't born from privilege, but from the ability to transform adversity into opportunity, humiliation into motivation, and prejudice into purpose." The audience rose to a standing ovation lasting 5 minutes. Among those present were hundreds of young people from disadvantaged communities who now had full medical school scholarships. All were inspired by the story of the girl who transformed a rejected dance in a garden into a silent revolution that changed lives forever. Luna had discovered the perfect revenge formula, not destroying those who had hurt her, but building something so extraordinary that the very existence of that legacy would become definitive proof that her oppressors were completely wrong about who she really was. If this transformation and justice story touched your heart, leave a comment telling us which part moved you most, and subscribe to the channel for more stories proving that true victory isn't in bringing our enemies down, but in elevating ourselves so high that they become irrelevant in the face of the greatness we have built.